Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lumley from Finextra, and today in Conversation With, I'll be speaking to the new CEO of VocaLink, David Yates. And of course, we're going to be talking about payments innovation and of course the UK mobile database that you guys are putting together for mobile payments in the UK.
Yeah.
But before we get into some of that, I mean, you've had a long career, 30-year career in the payments industry. So can you tell us a little bit about, your experiences and the background of your career?
Yeah, sure. As you say, I've been around in the industry for almost 30 years. I started off right at the very beginning with IBM. When one of my first jobs was to look after Visa when they were first setting up in Europe. And obviously I've enjoyed the industry for a long time since then. My most recent role was as president of Western Union, where I looked after business payments, mobile, e-commerce, and prepaid cards. Prior to that, I was president of First Data International, looking after all of First Data's activities. So, the world's biggest payments processor everywhere outside of the United States. So all the way from Argentina, across to Korea, from Norway down to South Africa.
So now that you've joined VocaLink, after you've left Western Union, what really attracted you to this role at VocaLink?
Well, I think, as you know, but I'd like to just take a moment to explain to the people watching this transmission. VocaLink operates the national payments infrastructure for the UK. And we're really at an inflection point in the industry because we've been asked by the UK Payments Council to create a national proxy database. What does that mean? It means that going forward, everybody in the UK who has a bank account will be able to make that bank account accessible from their mobile phone. And so the very first applications will obviously be the ability to use your mobile phone for me to make a payment to you, for example. But it's easily imaginable that people could do many, many more things with that same application. So, for example, a small business might ask to be paid by a consumer, so to send out an invoice. Or you could also imagine a utility company might want to bill a consumer across the same infrastructure. So you can imagine many new applications in areas that have been traditionally served by just cash or by check, and perhaps where the card is not the most convenient method of payment.
So, I mean, sort of as CEO of VocaLink, you're at the center of pushing mobile payments in the UK with this project.
Yes, I mean, together with our partners at the Payments Council, we're the technology company that will deliver the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the banks in the UK need then to adopt that infrastructure, but you can see across the industry a huge interest and willingness to invest in this technology. It's something that has come of age, and the consumers are truly asking for the kinds of convenience that mobile and other alternative payments, non-card payments, would be able to offer them.
So you can see that's one of the reasons that you were attracted to the role of CEO, and you've been CEO since January. So I know it's only been a few months, but has anything changed? Is it everything you predicted it would be, or is there any surprises?
My biggest surprises are actually positive surprises. If you are operating an infrastructure as critical to an economy as running all of the national payments, so the vast majority of payroll, the vast majority of private payments, so direct debits, the vast majority of ATM transactions in the UK, that infrastructure needs to be pretty robust. And the biggest very positive surprise that I have is that it's even more robust than I expected. And so as the foundation stone for offering new services, I think that is fabulous. Also, the technology infrastructure is very modern. So the company's invested quite heavily in bringing out new products, and one of the important products that it brought out over the last few years, which is the building block beneath mobile payments, is our faster payments product. And this is the one that the consumers are able to use today to be able to deliver pretty much instantaneous good funds payments across our network.
I mean, yeah, I think payments is just it's the banking function that is most important to consumers, and but it needs to be so transparent. Like you said, it has to be beyond robust. It has to be fail-safe, and I think that's very important when talking about that. I mean, but you mentioned a little bit about moving into mobile, and there's a lot of sort of chicken and egg with mobile, where will consumers pick it up will merchants have point of sale terminals? Will, people like yourself doing the infrastructure to push mobile? How is consumer behavior changing in terms of payments, and what will the future payments infrastructure and innovation, what will that look like in the next few years?
Lots of people mean many different things when they talk about mobile, and I think that one of the difficulties that people have in understanding what it is because so many people mean something different. So some people, when they talk about mobile, mean contactless card technology, which is certainly a version of mobile.
NFC,
or near frequency, NFC technology, contactless technology. I think what I mean when I talk about mobile in the context in which we're thinking about it at the moment is the ability to access not just information about your bank account from your mobile phone, which many people can do today, but also to actually conduct payment transactions across it. Why is it interesting? Well, it's interesting because today, if you want to access your account for making a payment, you need to have a card and a device that accepts a card. And they're not as ubiquitous as, of course they're fairly ubiquitous, but not as ubiquitous as you might expect. So your plumber tends not to have a point of sale terminal. The window cleaner tends not to have one. If you want to send money to your friend doesn't have a point of sale terminal. And we can come up with a new way of dealing with the acceptance problem where people don't have that card technology. And the other reason why this is important is that if you want then to do a non-card transaction, typically you need to either write a check or you need to be able to have access to your computer. And of course, for people who want to do a more ad hoc transaction, who don't want to sit down and log on to their internet banking, this provides them also the access that they need to have in order to be able to, interact with our payment system. So it's very important.
Like giving small donations to charities or,
Yes, I mean, there are so many areas of application. I think one of the most important ones is that it offers the opportunity to replace checks over time, more convenient than cash, easier than having to log on to your screen. So I think it will lift off. There are some great examples around the world where mobile financial services are already well underway. For example, in Kenya, where the vast majority of the adult population in Kenya have already for quite some time been operating their own payment system using mobile as the access tool.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sort of leads me on to my next question. I mean, you guys, VocaLink, have just completed research into the use of cards in Europe. And so, what are some of the issues facing the European cards industry? What were some of the results of the findings?
Well, I'd like to talk about the specific research and then make a couple of other comments. So the research that we actually did was about the cards industry from the perspective of large merchants who are operating on a multinational basis. And what that research showed was that the large retailers or the multinational retailers are very concerned about first of all, the cost of the infrastructure. And I think it's inevitable that people would be concerned about the cost, but quite striking was the fact that a transaction in one country can cost up to 33 times as much as a transaction in another European country. So the costs are quite varied and wide. And after concerns about costs, then the second biggest concern of the international merchant was really the lack of homogeneity in the technology infrastructure. So very different infrastructures country by country. So what the large retailer is looking for is the ability to have, to pick the best deal, I guess, and to have the best price consistently across Europe, and then to be able to integrate technology in a much more simple and coherent way than they're able to do today. And so we've been thinking as a company about how we can help them do that, and looking at providing ways of integrating their payment needs into one central place and helping them with that pan-European integration.
So my final question is really sort of the big CEO type question. As CEO, where are you going to take VocaLink, and what is VocaLink's place in the changing payments industry?
Well, the most important thing for VocaLink is to continue to be an absolutely robust and solid processor of financial services for everybody within the country. So nobody will thank us if they don't get paid or if they can't get cash out of an ATM. So that solidity and quality is priority number one. But beyond that, I think the consumer and business is asking for innovation to help them connect each other through payments in a way that's even more accessible than it is today. And I see it as our job to deliver those alternative payment formats, not just mobile, but mobile is a very important one, to add to the range of payments that are already available in the marketplace. So to go beyond where cards can take us today.
Beyond cards. It's very interesting. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay.